Well, thanks for staying with us. Time now for Media Watch, where we start with the worsening war of words between The Guardian and WikiLeaks. Rebecca Bowring's here to bring us the latest on that. So what's up with that, Rebecca?
Hello, Georgia. Well, WikiLeaks today, as we know, released its entire cache of US diplomatic cables, all 251,000 of them, and they were coming out in kind of dribs and drabs, but full versions have been circulating on the internet on peer-to-peer websites like BitTorrent. So, in effect, WikiLeaks didn't have much of a choice. So, if we look at their Twitter feed today, they say they're shining a light on 45 years of US diplomacy. It's time to open the archives forever, they say. But they also point the finger at sloppy handling on behalf of media organisations that they've worked with before. Who would that be then? Well, The Guardian, of course. Earlier this week, WikiLeaks said it'd been forced to speed up the release of these cables because a journalist with The Guardian, David Lee, an investigative reporter, had let the cat out of the bag. He'd let slip in his recent book the password that meant that everybody could get their hands on the encrypted trove of these files. So The Guardian has now buddied up with other international newspapers with whom WikiLeaks has worked before, such as the New York Times and Der Spiegel, saying that they basically deplore the decision to put these cables online. They don't think it was the right thing to do because several thousand of them are marked strictly protect, because the identities of the diplomatic sources contained within could, well, revealed they could be in danger. So the papers all say that it was Julian Assange who decided that he was going to make this information public. WikiLeaks hitting back and saying The Guardian's nepotism has compromised its accountability. If we have a look at this article, which is in the online magazine Salon.com. Here, the writer Glenn Greenwald is saying that that WikiLeaks had no choice, had to publish these things because Lee was reckless in publishing in his book. The password, of course.
Surely the password can be changed.
Well, it hadn't been. This was the point. Lee said he thought it was just a temporary thing, but in fact WikiLeaks had never changed the password. So consequently, it says this is a disaster for all people concerned. WikiLeaks has let down its sources, people that it should have been protecting, and it's fallen out with all its former media partners, has no more friends. Secondly, it's a travesty for The Guardian newspaper, which is known for its great investigative journalism, like the phone hacking scandal in the UK. That came from Guardian journalists, so now the integrity of The Guardian is also being questioned. And on top of that, it says that this is a disaster potentially for Bradley Manning, the man who's, of course, suspected of being behind the leaks in the first place. He could face an even harsher punishment, the writer saying, if convicted. But he does conclude in the end that WikiLeaks is still doing a lot of public good and thinks that we should really throw our support behind the site.
Right. Well, thanks for that. Now, in Britain, as the anniversary of 9/11, the 9/11 terror attacks in the US approaches, a bit of a controversy's sprung up over a decision to air a comedy based on terrorism as that anniversary approaches.
That's exactly right. We're going to look actually at an article. It's been reported by left and right-leaning media in the UK, of course, but this is an article from The Nation in Pakistan. And actually, this particular film that we're talking about, Chris Morris's Four Lions, which came out in 2010, actually features a terrorism training camp in Pakistan. So it's obviously a film that's of interest to Pakistani media. Channel 4 has decided to broadcast it 4 days before the, of course, 10th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. The movie is part of the channel's season of programming for that event. They're also showing documentaries such as the death of Osama bin Laden. There are other elements as well. But this is part of the wider geopolitical discussion about terrorism. We can take a little look actually at the clip of the film because I think it's quite important that the audience kind of understands that this is really a massive spoof. It's about, you've seen it, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's a great film. It's about four sort of wannabe jihadists. They're completely bungling. They try and watch a terror attack at the London Marathon in fancy dress. It all goes horribly wrong. There's a scene with an exploding sheep.
So let's take a little look. The impression I took away from it really was that it was satirising the ridiculousness of people who aim to achieve what the protagonists in the film are aiming for. Exactly,
and in this particular clip they're talking about buying bleach and he's bought it all from the same store, so immediately revealing himself as being a wannabe terrorist. So certainly I think the controversy is going to bubble on in the UK.
Well, thank you very much for that. Rebecca Bowring there with Media Watch. Well, that's it for this moment, but please do stay tuned. More coming up after this short break.